Welcome to the SDH College Showcase, where we take a tour very quickly through the Southeast and let you know what's going on in the SEC, the ACC, the SoCon, the Sun Belt, and Division II, Division III in the NAIA before we send you on your way for yet another week. Regular seasons are winding down, getting into conference tournament play. And so what we will do is we will start things off in the Southeastern Conference. And right now, looking at the standings in the East, wasting no time because you've got action on the weekend here on your Sunday. In the East, Tennessee's at 6-1-1, 10 wins on the season in the overall. Vandy's at 4-2-2. South Carolina, Georgia both at 4-3-1. Missouri at 2-4-2. Kentucky and Florida still winless in the SEC East, 0-6-2 and 0-7-1 respectively. In the West, Alabama unbeaten, 8-0. Arkansas second at 5-2-1. Mississippi State with 4 wins, 4-3-1. LSU at 3-2-3. Ole Miss doesn't have the losses and draws in 2 separate columns. They're all in one column at 3-5. Texas A&M at 2-4-2, and Auburn is at 2-5-1. In the week, Missouri had a late goal to get a draw with Kentucky. Mike Watts, running play-by-play for the SEC Network, caught up with the goal scorer, Kylie Dobbs.
Welcome back to SEC Network's Thursday night prime time. Kylie Dobbs created opportunities in that second half and finally able to get an equalizer for the Tigers in the 82nd minute. Right place, right time, and a clinical finish as the Tigers finish 1-1 with Kentucky and grab an enormous point as it pertains to reaching Pensacola. And Kylie joins us now from the field. The conclusion of this one. Congrats on the goal. Right place, right time, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Walk me through that goal and how important that is to your season. You guys desperately needed something out of this game tonight.
I feel like we were inching closer the entire game, and it was coming, and I knew that. And I knew Kylie's good in the air, so if there was a chance, I was going to do everything I could to get on it, and it worked out.
You guys have dominated tonight in almost every aspect of the game but the scoreline. You have a bit of an uphill battle coming for the team in the next 2 games to make it to Pensacola. What can we expect from this team against a good opposition in the next 2 games?
Just a lot of gritty, hard work, playing for the people next to us on the field. We have goals that we set at the beginning of the year, and we've held true to that, and when we do, we're successful. So I think we just need to key in on those, and we can have success.
You scored Missouri's 15th goal of the season. 13 have come from underclassmen. Can you describe the concept of taking the stairs, as Coach Golan describes, to build to success with this young core that you're a part of?
Yeah, so really it just starts with each stair step, and to get to the next one, you have to master whatever that is. And so I think just focusing on one thing at a time and building, things will start to follow. And we have a really young team, so there's a lot to look forward to. But at this point, like Coach Golan said, we're all veterans. We've all played. So we just need to keep pushing forward.
So that sets up your full schedule coming up in the next little bit. Full Sunday in the SEC. It is 7 matches, 1 o'clock Eastern time on SEC Network Plus. Georgia is at Kentucky and Lexington. South Carolina is at Tennessee, 2 o'clock. Arkansas is at Ole Miss, and Auburn is at LSU. On SEC Network at 4, it's Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. 5 o'clock, Missouri and Texas A&M. Florida in your nightcap on SEC Network Plus visits number 3, Alabama. In the ACC, looking at action on both the men's and women's side, starting off with the men and letting you know what the standings currently are before we get into the schedule. In the Atlantic, Syracuse right now at 15 points with 5 wins at 5-1. Louisville 4-2-1 at 13 points. Wake at 4-2 with 12. Clemson 7 points and 2-4-1. BC 5 points, 1-4-2. NC State, having played 1 less match, has 1 less point at 1-4-1. In the Coastal, Duke unbeaten 4-0-3. Virginia's at 13 points, 4-1-1. Pitt 3-2-2 with 11. North Carolina and Notre Dame both at 9 points. North Carolina at 2-2-3. Notre Dame at 3-4. Virginia Tech on the season 2-13 in the overall, 0-7 in the conference. Looking at the women's side and seeing what is going on there with your standings. before we get you into the honors of the week and the week that will be. Notre Dame on top at 6-2, three-way tie. North Carolina and Florida State all at 6-2. Pitt at 16 points, along with Duke. Both teams at 5-2-1. Virginia, 14 points at 4-2-2. Clemson at 3-3-2 with 11 points. Virginia Tech at 3-4-1 with 10. Wake, Louisville each with 9 points at 3-5. NC State and Miami both at 2-5-1 and 7 points. Syracuse at 1-5-2 with 5 points. BC is 1-6-1 with 4 points. So checking out your schedule coming up in the next little bit. The big days traditionally are on weekends and in late week. So if we get you through your Sunday and get you into the early part of the week, on Sunday it is Syracuse and Virginia Tech, 1 o'clock in Blacksburg. And most of these matchups are on ACC Network Extra. BC is at Clemson. Louisville is at Duke. North Carolina is at Miami. Florida State is at Pitt. NC State's at Virginia at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Notre Dame is at Wake at 5. That gets you through the weekend. And on the men's soccer side of things, Endicott is at BC on your Monday at 5:30 in Newton, Mass. UMass is at Clemson at 7 o'clock Monday night on ACC Network Extra as well. Tuesday, North Carolina is at William & Mary on the men's side at 6. That one is on Flow Sports. Michigan is at Notre Dame on ACC Network at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Thursday, your big night for women's soccer coming up in the week. North Carolina is at Louisville at 6. Virginia is at Miami at 6. Both of the North Carolina-Louisville matches on ACC Network as a part of their doubleheader on the night. ACC Network Extra has the rest of these. Virginia, Miami at 6, NC State, Syracuse at 7, Clemson, Pitt at 7, Wake at BC at 7, Virginia Tech at Florida State at 7, back into the ACC Network doubleheader on your Thursday in women's soccer is Duke and Notre Dame. And that gets you into Friday, where men's soccer has their big day, 6 matches on the board. ACC Network has a doubleheader, remember, at 6 and 8. Duke and Virginia Tech will start that off at 6. ACC Network Extra has Virginia, North Carolina at 7, NC State and Clemson at 7. Notre Dame and Pitt at 7, BC and Syracuse at 7, Louisville and Wake Forest, the back end of the doubleheader. That is at 8 o'clock, and that gets you through your schedule on the week. Looking at news and notes for both men's and women's soccer once again, looking at the penultimate weekend of the regular season coming up. You're looking at this stretch of games coming up over this next little bit to get you through, and you have teams that are ranked that you're going to be keeping an eye on. Number 11, Louisville. Number 2, Duke. Wake is at 25. Virginia's at 24. Syracuse is at number 4. So obviously we'll be keeping an eye on all of those. You have 5 of the teams ranked in the United Soccer Coaches Poll, the most of any conference. 6 ACC teams hold spots in the latest NCAA RPI. Syracuse grabbing the number 1 position on the week. Remember, league play wraps up on the 28th. ACC Championship begins with first-round matches on Wednesday, November 2nd on the men's side. And on the women's side of things, when you look at news and notes that you are getting all the way through announcing the Women's Soccer Player of the Week awards, sophomore forward Taylor Bryan of Virginia Tech, graduate forward Haley Hopkins selected as ACC Women's Soccer Co-Offensive Players of the Week. North Carolina senior Tori Hansen earned Defensive Player of the Week honors for the week past. And that gets you into this particular week of women's soccer. Once again, very, very busy weekend. Teams playing twice. 6 ACC teams are ranked in the United Soccer Coaches Poll. Once again, most of any conference. And you have number 20 Pitt, number 5 Notre Dame, number 10 Duke, number 8 Virginia. North Carolina is at number 2. Florida State is at number 4. So that gets you out of the ACC. In the SoCon, going through both the men's and women's action. Let's take a look at the standings currently as they are. UNCG and East Tennessee State both at 2-0-1. Mercer's at 1-0-2. Wofford across the board at 1s. Furman's at 0-2-1. VMI is at 0-3 at the bottom of the conference. VMI now at 2-11-1 has lost 5 in a row on the men's side. Looking at your news of the week and your schedule of results, Going through the last 7 days, Mercer beat VMI by the score of 2-0. Wofford beat Furman by that same score in Greenville. ETSU and North Carolina Greensboro, a 1-1 draw. Men's soccer on Tuesday. Wake shuts out Wofford 3-0. Presbyterian beat Furman 2-1 in Greenville. East Tennessee State and Louisville, a 1-1 draw. Also on men's soccer on your Wednesday, Robert Morris over VMI by the score of 2-1. And that leads us into the schedule for the week that will be. Furman and East Tennessee State, Wofford and VMI, that is on Saturday afternoon. 7 o'clock, UNCG is at Mercer. That one will be on ESPN+. Tuesday on the men's side, Northern Kentucky is at East Tennessee State at 3. The Duquesne VMI match has been canceled. Wofford and Winthrop are at 7 o'clock in Rock Hill, and that gets us through the week on the men's side. On the women's side of things, looking at how the standings are currently in the SoCon, you have Tennessee Chattanooga right now at 5-1-2. They're on top. 3-0-2 at home, 2-1 away. But the last time out, though, they had their big unbeaten string snapped. Mercer and Samford both at 4-1-3. North Carolina Greensboro is at 4-3-1 through 8 matches. East Tennessee State 3-2-3. Wofford is at 3-3-2. Furman and Western both at 3-4-1. The Citadel is at 3-5, and VMI is at 0-8 and 1-15-2 in the overall for your action in women's soccer. Going over the results of the past 7 days, taking you back to Sunday the 16th. Samford a 1-0 win at home against Western Carolina. UNCG knocks off Wofford 4-0. Same score Furman at VMI. East Tennessee and Chattanooga a goalless draw at UTC. Wofford was the team that knocked off Chattanooga to stop their unbeaten string. 2-0 in Spartanburg. UNCG and Samford 4-0 wins on the road at the Citadel and Furman, respectively. Mercer put 5 on the board, beating VMI last night, in Friday night, the 21st, in women's soccer. So that sets up the week that will be, and it is the end of the regular season on Sunday. VMI is at the Citadel. Samford is at Wofford. Chattanooga is at Furman. East Tennessee State at Western Carolina. UNCG is at Mercer. All of those games are at 2 o'clock. All of those games can be found on ESPN Plus as we get you ready for the postseason. Now, ducking into the Sun Belt Conference and seeing how things are in the Fun Belt, your players of the week on the men's side were Diane Dromers, the redshirt senior from Steensel in the Netherlands, scoring twice in their 3-3 draw against number 2 Kentucky last Saturday night. Your defensive player of the week is from Old Dominion, Michael Statham, the freshman from Stockport, England. 6 saves, 2 key stops in the second half to key their 2-1 win over number 4 Marshall last week. 4 shots in the first half, consecutive corners in the second to the top 10 win on the road. A .89 goals against average, second in the conference, 46 saves on the year. Leads all Sun Belt keepers. So that is your rundown of players of the week in the Sun Belt. Let's take a peek at the standings for soccer on the men's side. Kentucky has 12 points and 3 wins in their 6 matches. Old Dominion 10 points at 3-1-1. Marshall at 9 points, 2-1-3. Georgia State has 8 at 2-1-2. West Virginia 1-1-4, 7 points. 5 points each for South Carolina, James Madison, and Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina has 5 draws, by the way. And South Carolina, James Madison, identical records at 1-2-2. Georgia Southern has lost all 5 of their matchups, and they are 0-5 on the year, 1-11-1 in the overall. Not a lot of folks have a lot of win streaks, a lot of draw streaks, really, heading into this next 7 days. Old Dominion is the only team currently with any kind of a win streak. Everybody else has draw streaks except for South Carolina, who lost the last time out when it comes to their play under Tony Annan in Columbia. Looking at the schedule of the last 7 days, getting you through what happened, get you ready for the next 7. Georgia State had a 2-1 win over Liberty. Kentucky, West Virginia, we mentioned that 3-3 draw in Morgantown. We mentioned Old Dominion's 2-1 win at Marshall. Tuesday on the men's side, Georgia Southern Stetson, a 2-2 draw. Wednesday, Marshall visited Georgia State, a 1-1 draw there. Old Dominion, a 1-0 win over South Carolina. 1-1 draw, West Virginia, James Madison. Coastal Carolina, Kentucky, a goalless draw. So that sets up action on your Saturday the 22nd. Kentucky is at Indiana. James Madison on Sunday leads 4 matches. They're at South Carolina. Georgia Southern's at Marshall. That one's on ESPN Plus at 3. Georgia State's at West Virginia. That one's at 6 on ESPN Plus. Old Dominion, Coastal Carolina, 6 o'clock as well. Wednesday, men's soccer, Marshall's at Wright State in Dayton, Ohio at 6 o'clock. Then Friday night football, 4 matches before we head into the last games of the regular season, the 1st of November. ODU's at Kentucky at 6. South Carolina's at Georgia State at 6. That one's on ESPN Plus. West Virginia's at Georgia Southern in Statesboro on ESPN Plus at 6. Coastal Carolina, James Madison in Harrisonburg at 6 o'clock as well. Now, on to the women's side and let you know what's going on there currently. You have soccer players of the week coming from South Alabama in Jasmine Green and Mackenzie Robinson. For Arkansas State, get your defensive honors of the week. Jasmine Green, the senior from Birmingham, hat trick in the 8-1 win over Southern Miss over the weekend. All 3 of her goals in a 15-minute span in the second half. Currently leads the Jags with 10 goals and 22 points. Mackenzie Robinson for Arkansas State, the sophomore defender from Smithville, Missouri, got the game-winning assist in the 1-0 win over Georgia State. 3 shots on goal the entire day for Georgia State, and Arkansas has a 5-2 conference record in the overall. So let's take a peek at those conference standings, let you see how things are. James Madison, 5 wins in their 8 matches, 18 points, 5-0-3 in the East Division. Georgia Southern 5-1-2, only a point behind. App State at 4-4 with 12 points. Georgia State 11 points at 3-3-2. Old Dominion 10 points. Marshall at 6 points. Coastal Carolina with 5. Each of those 2 teams have 1 win on the year. West Division, Arkansas State at 6-2 has 18 points. South Alabama also does. Their distribution's a little different, 5 wins and 3 draws. Texas State's at 16 points at 5-2-1. Then the other 4 teams in the West within 3 points of each other. Louisiana at 8 points and 2 wins. ULM 7 points and 2 wins. Southern Miss and Troy, identical records at 1, 5, and 2. Looking at the schedule coming up over the last 7 days to get you ready for the next 7 days. Last Sunday, Arkansas State, the 1-0 win over Georgia State, which we talked about in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Georgia Southern, the 3-0 win over Coastal Carolina. South Alabama, we mentioned their 8-1 win at home against Southern Miss. Texas State on the road, a 2-1 win at Troy. Louisiana, a 3-0 win over Louisiana Monroe. Thursday, another big day for women's soccer in the Sun Belt. App State, 1-0 win at Southern Miss. Georgia State loses at James Madison 4-1. Arkansas State, a 1-0 win at Old Dominion. Marshall and Coastal Carolina, 2-2 draw. Georgia Southern at ULM, a 1-0 winner. South Alabama, 3-0 win over Texas State. Troy loses at Louisiana by the score of 3-1. Now, coming up over the next 7 days, a lot of activity, and it's going to be on Sunday and Thursday. Sunday, early starts, 10 a.m. Louisiana at App State in Boone. All of these are on ESPN+. Old Dominion, Georgia State at 11. Texas State, Marshall at noon, as well as Southern Miss, Arkansas State. James Madison, Georgia Southern. Coastal Carolina, South Alabama. 1 o'clock, it's ULM and Troy. Thursday, once again, another stacked plate. It is ULM at Coastal Carolina at noon. Louisiana, Southern Miss at 2 on ESPN+. South Alabama, Arkansas State at 3. Marshall, Old Dominion at 6, as well as Troy and James Madison. Georgia Southern, Georgia State at 6. That one's on ESPN+. App State and Texas State, 7 o'clock in San Marcos, Texas. That gets you through the Sun Belt Conference. Now, let's get you into Division 2 and Division 3 and the NAIA. Division 2, let's go into the Peach Belt, let you know how things are right there. With soccer, let's get on to the men's side. Our highlights will come from action involving Clayton State and South Carolina Aiken. It was senior day for the women's team, so the men's team went first, and it was a very, very busy day for Clayton State when it came to the numbers to the left of the dash. It was 2-1 at the half. It didn't end up that way. Here's the last 2 goals on the board on a very, very busy day offensively. Clayton State hosting USC Aiken, and you'll hear a very familiar voice, courtesy of our friends at the Peach Belt Network. Abdallah was pressuring towards center circle. Pacius flips it forward. Blackstock, he's got Rios on the run. Rios sets up the right, and it is in for goal number 5.
Goal by number 10,
Gio Rios with 6:08 to go. Rios from Blackstock, so Blackstock gets his third assist of the season. Gio Rios gets his fourth goal of the season. And it is now 5-1 to the home side. First chance we get for USC Aiken. Maresciano will check back in. Swan up into the air. Can Ransom track it down? They're going to call him for the swim move and the foul. 5 minutes to go. 3-goal second half for Clayton State. Bryson Fuss up the left. On the ground, but nobody there in a matching jersey. Eric Rodriguez was there for Clayton State. Back and forth with Jimenez, centrally to Ransom. And into the middle, John Michael Torres. Gets around Maresciano. Pacius. Rios, back and forth. John Michael Torres. Blackstock. Rios. Through ball. Blackstock will get there. Wanted to cut it inside on the right, but Isaiah Brunson knocked it away. Peguerrer now up the right-hand side. Blackstock backtracking. And just last touched by Blackstock. It'll be a throw for USC Aiken. Abdallah. Now the ball centrally, Jamie Campbell. Campbell scored the equalizer in the first half for USC Aiken, but it has been all Clayton State ever since. Pinto, and it rolls in. Solon Pinto with the goal at 3:32 to go. And for Solon Pinto, it is his first goal of the year to make it 5-2. Charging back down quickly. Blackstock chasing the hat trick, and he got it. 12 seconds later, literally right after the kickoff, Blackstock with the hat trick, goals 10, 11, and 12. It's now 6-2. 12 seconds worth of difference between the goal that made it 5-2 and the goal that made it 6-2. So a 6-2 win for Clayton State over USC Aiken as USC Aiken came on the road. So that sets up your conference standings. Lander at 8-0-2 at 26 points. Flagler 7 wins and 23. Young Harris 6 wins and 20. Clayton State 6-3-1, 19 points right now with a 2-game win streak. Georgia Southwestern at 10 points, 2 wins. North Georgia with 5 points, 1 win. USC Aiken right now 1-9-1 with 4 points, 2-11-1 in the overall for the conference. Now, looking at your schedule from the last 7 days to get you ready for the next 7 days as we wrap up the regular season and get you ready for the conference tournaments. Back on the 15th, Flagler a 4-1 win over North Georgia. Lander 2-0 over Georgia Southwestern. Young Harris shut out USC Aiken 3-0 in the Georgia Mountains. Clayton State at North Greenville 2-0 win before they returned home. Georgia Southwestern and USC Aiken a goalless draw in Aiken on Monday. Then that led us to the 6-2 win that we had the highlights for of Clayton State over USC Aiken. Lander at North Georgia wins 4-1. Flagler shuts out Georgia Southwestern and Americas 2-0. So that sets up your Saturday. Lander's at Flagler. Young Harris at Clayton State in Morrow. And that's on Senior Day. North Georgia is at USC Aiken at 5 o'clock. Then you have one match on Monday. It is Clayton State and Lander. And that one was postponed. So Clayton State and Lander's off the board. And so that will wrap up things in the regular season for men's soccer. So let's go to women's soccer. And mentioning Senior Day for the women, it was a non-conference contest at Clayton State against Anderson. Goalless first half, and Anderson ends up with the win by the score of 2-0. So let's look at your standings in the Peach Belt right now as we get ready for the end of the regular season, get you ready for the conference tournament. 8 wins each for Columbus State and Flagler. Columbus State has a match in hand, both at 25 points. UNG is at 6 wins and 20 points. Lander and USC Aiken, both with 4 wins and 15. Lander with a match in hand. Georgia College, 4 wins and 13 points in 9 matches. Young Harris, 4-6 at 12. USC Beaufort, 3 wins and 9 points. Clayton State at 2-5-2 with 8 points. Georgia Southwestern, 1-7-1 with 4 points. Albany State has not won a match this season in women's soccer. So your schedule gets you ready for what happened over the last 7 days to get you ready for the next 7. Last weekend, Young Harris beat Clayton State by the score of 2-1. Lander a 4-1 win at Beaufort. Columbus State put 6 on USC Aiken in Aiken. Albany State lost to Flagler 8-0 in St. Augustine. North Georgia beat Georgia College in Milledgeville by the score of 3-1. In the midweek, North Georgia beat Lenore-Rhine in a non-conference contest 3-0. Columbus State beat Catawba 1-0 at home. Lander put 4 on Albany State. USC Aiken won at Georgia College in Milledgeville by the score of 2-1. Nova Southeastern over Flagler 2-0. Lincoln Memorial and Young Harris was canceled, and we mentioned Anderson beating Clayton State on Senior Day by the score of 2-0. So that sets up what's going on over the next little bit. And once again, it's another couple of matchups before we get into the conference tournaments and such. You have Clayton State and Albany State. That one is in Albany. Flagler over Young Harris early on Saturday afternoon, 6-0. Allen's at USC Aiken. Landers at Georgia College at 3. USC Beaufort, Georgia Southwestern. That one is at 7 o'clock. And all of these are on the Peach Belt PBC Sports Network. So look on all of your favorite platforms to track all these matches down. Sunday, North Georgia's at Columbus State. Saturday is the PBC tournament. So that is when we will get you ready for that. USC Beaufort is at South Carolina State playing out of conference. And their schedule continues in the Continental Athletic Conference before they get ready for that tournament on Friday, November the 11th. Catching up with action with Oglethorpe and what we're seeing in Division III with the Stormy Petrels. So let's see what's going on in that particular conference with both soccer and on the men's and the women's side. Petrel's got a point and a goalless draw against unbeaten Rhodes. So you're looking at the schedule in the SAA, and right now getting close to the end of the season. You're set to crown 4 regular season champs in the Southern Athletic Association. Looking at the sports themselves, the men's soccer standings, Rhodes right now, 4 wins in conference. They're at 4-0-2. Same with Hendricks, same with Swanee. Barry has 3 wins. Oglethorpe at 2-1-3, 5-5-4. Centers at 2-4. Birmingham Southern at 1-4-1. Millsaps has yet to win this season in soccer. They are at 0-6. Looking at the women's soccer standings as the season winds down. 3-way tie at the top. Center, Swanee, and Barry each with 5-1 records. Rhodes at 4-2. Hendricks 3-3. Oglethorpe at 1-4-1. Millsaps 0-5-1. Birmingham Southern is at 0-6 right now in conference. So looking at the schedule, getting you ready to wrap things up. In conference play on the 22nd, it is Oglethorpe and Barry, Millsaps and Birmingham Southern at 3:30, Center College, Swanee, Rhodes College, and Hendricks. And that is on your crowning, your championship Saturday as we get ready to square things away there in the men's side. On the women's side, your schedule is on the 22nd. Millsaps, Birmingham Southern, Center and Swanee, Oglethorpe and Barry. And at 6 o'clock, it is Rhodes and Hendricks, which will get you ready for the postseason. One other match on the 25th, Millsaps and Bellhaven in a non-conference contest will wrap things up for Millsaps' schedule out of conference. Now, into the NAIA, and we'll take a peek at Georgia Gwinnett College and the Grizzlies before we go. With their big schedule that they've had going on over the last little bit, we mentioned last time out when it came to their schedule and what we mean, you have the number 6 team in NAIA hitting the road one more time. Once again, we mentioned the neutral site contest against Division II Shaw, so we'll keep an eye on that particular contest. On the men's side, let's go back to how things were last week and put a bow on that one. Right now the team's at 9-1-1, 2-0 in conference. But Last time we caught up with them, it was at the CAC Classic. They'd beaten Viterbo 2-1 in Cedar Rapids. They would turn around and beat Bellevue of Nebraska by the score of 2-0. And after the match, GGC caught up with Kareem Tamimi, the MVP of that second match that gave the CAC Classic 2 wins in 2 appearances, courtesy of our friends at GGC Athletics, their own selves.
Kareem Tamimi with the game-winning goal in the first half as Grizzlies defeat Bellevue 2-0 to conclude the CAC Classic here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And Kareem, take me through both goals were very similar, kind of caught him on the counterattack, but take me through that goal that you scored off Jason's kind of long run.
This goal, to be honest, I just had the chance to finish the job. It was a counterattack. They were really sending long balls to us. We did a really, really nice job defensively with the mantle. We were really aggressive, so we took the ball from back and we played 2-3 passes really quick forward. Jason did a really nice job and gave me the ball, a really nice cross with his left foot, and I just had to put the ball on the net one touch. It was really easy for me.
And then give me your perspective on our second goal scored by Jason, and what a tournament he had with a couple of goals and an assist. I mean, take me, what was your perspective on our second goal in the second half, about midway through the second half?
That's the same thing. We had the instruction was to be really solid defensively, and when we get the ball is to counter-attack them. This is what happened the second goal as well. Marco got the ball on the left and he crossed it with a perfect cross, and Jason just had to finish the job. I think I'm Grizzly of the day, but I think everybody deserves to be Grizzly of the day. Jason, the defenders, keepers, subs. We had a really nice trip. Everywhere we go, doesn't matter if the weather is difficult or not, we bring our energy and we impose our rhythm and our identity. And this is what is good and bring us both win on this tournament.
You got to play against some conference competition here in Iowa. Got 2 wins, now 9-1-1 on the season. Just take me through. You've also scored a point in every match this season. I mean, just take me through. Break down your season as with your 12th goal today.
Yeah, like I said, without the guys, nothing will happen, right? I'm just lucky to finish the job because I'm a striker, so it's easy for me to have the lights on me. But the guys behind are working really hard. Defensively, the midfield, everybody is running and fighting and sacrifice his body and his mental. So I think it's just details. If I score goals, that's really good because it means that we're helping the team and we're winning. So if it's me or somebody else, I don't really care. I just want to win and to bring the team to the top.
So after the match with Shaw on Saturday, the next couple of matchups there that will cover the next 7 days, only one. It's Wednesday in Lawrenceville at the Grizzly Soccer Complex against the Nighthawks of Thomas. And so that one is at 7 o'clock on campus. And the CAC Soccer Championships, once again, they're down the road on November 11th when it comes to the men's side. On the women's side, when you're looking at their schedule, they're going to begin their closing regular season road trip, and that is starting off this weekend. Start of the season right now, 3-6-6, heading into their final couple of matches. They lost in their match with Bellevue, who has been receiving votes for the top 25 in the NAIA. Then they lost to William Carey in the midweek in Lawrenceville by the score of 4-0. They're in Shaw on Saturday. Then they turn around. Their last match of the regular season is next week in Cochrane at Middle Georgia State. And so we'll keep an eye on that one once again before November 11th and the CAC Soccer Championships at the Grizzly Soccer Complex in Lawrenceville. That is a very, very quick run through a boatload of conferences and a boatload of divisions. So, once again, that is your college showcase here at SDH. Thanks for hanging out with us once more. Enjoy the games. If you are nearby and can catch them, please do. Support your local teams. We'll be back at it again next week. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you next time.